Hey guys, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast. Mark Schlereth alongside Mike Evans. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching the program. We appreciate you. And this is it, Mike. We're wrapping up with NFC and AFC West breakdowns. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one because we've got the two teams that played in the Super Bowl last year and the Super Bowl winners. So great teams. And let's see if anybody can knock them off. Let's start in the NFC West.
Okay.
San Francisco. For me, I think it's become crystal clear. Do they possess the championship gene? Is this a team that can get over the hump and become a champion? There are a lot of doubts about their ability to do that.
There are. And when you start breaking down rosters, San Francisco is always in the top 2 or 3 guys. Like when you just think about offensively, they've got arguably the best left tackle in football. Maybe, he's certainly going to be a Hall of Famer, but Trent Williams is an absolute. Did I ever tell you when I fangirled over Trent Williams?
No.
Oh my gosh. So I'm in the lobby of the hotel where the 49ers are staying. And it's right across the street from the University of Maryland, right? It's right on campus, essentially. And NFL teams stay there when they play the Washington Commanders. And so, going through our meetings and stuff, I go down to the lobby and I'm waiting for the rest of the crew because a couple of guys are doing whatever they're doing, right? And there's Trent Williams, and he's standing there. And I just totally fangirled him. I go, I was right in the middle of a conversation with my director, and Mitch and I are talking, and I go, oh, Mitch, I got, and he just kind of scurried across the lobby, and introduced myself to Trent Williams, and I totally, like I said, it's just totally fangirled him. Like, hey man, it's really good to meet you. I'm a big fan, because the guy is just freaking awesome. He's awesome. So you got the best left tackle.
Man, you love offensive linemen, don't you?
But he is so freaking. He is so freaking. I just wish I had. I have raisin nuts compared to that dude. I was so worried about missing a block or whatever. That dude tries to come off the football and just murder you. And if he whiffs, whiffed, But if I get you, you're dead. I'm just gonna kill you. And I just really, I really love and respect the way he plays the game.
So what do you think has held San Francisco back from realizing that championship potential?
Well, I was talking about the roster. Trent Williams is awesome. George Kittle is, arguably the best. He's my favorite tight end, but he's the best tight end in football when you talk about your ability to block and catch passes and do all the things he does. Juszczyk is an absolute weapon. McCaffrey, the best back in football. Deebo Samuel has that duality to play wide receiver, catch it, strong hands, run after the catch, also get in the backfield, run the ball. Christian and Deebo Samuel are kind of interchangeable parts because Christian go out and play wide receiver. Ayuk, who started off really slow, has developed into a big-time player. Although there are some contract issues there with Ayuk, and I don't know what's going to happen or transpire there. And defensively, man, with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Charvarius Ward, who became, an all-pro player last year for them. I even what's that? Diamador Lenore is a good cornerback. Talanoa Fuanga, however you say his name. Sorry, Talanoa. He's outstanding. He was hurt last year, but he's outstanding. They have got a loaded freaking roster. They can really play. Greenlaw, when he comes back, unfortunately he tore his Achilles. Remember, coming off the sideline of the Super Bowl. Man, they can really, really play. They've got a loaded roster. They just have not been able to close the deal. Now, they've lost 2 Super Bowls with arguably, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's now backing up in Los Angeles, right? He's going to back up. I think he's backing up. Where is he? Yeah.
Stafford.
Yeah, he's backing up Stafford in Los Angeles. And then, and so they went to one with Jimmy, and Jimmy just missed a lot of throws down the stretch in that Super Bowl. They lost to Kansas City. And then you've got And then you've got, Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy set a record, the most yards ever thrown by a San Francisco quarterback, which is crazy, right? When you think about Joe Montana, you think about Steve Young, you think about, Jeff Garcia, you think about some of the quarterbacks that have played there. But there is that, can you close the deal? And there have been questions about Kyle Shanahan. Now, this goes against everything in my nature because I might get a call from Mike. But there have been questions about his late game management going back to his Atlanta days where they lost that Super Bowl to New England Patriots and these last 2 times they've been in the Super Bowl. Can they finish the deal? And, but it's not just, it's always, there's always a lot of dirty fingerprints on mistakes, right? But you get down in a situation where you're in overtime, like there's a lot of questions about taking the ball first, right? I thought that was a mistake. I thought that was a coaching blunder. But there's nothing you can do about, I don't know about you, but Chris Jones is a guy that every time you line up, you need to block him. He's pretty damn good, maybe one of the best in the league. And how you bust a protection and not block 95, and you end up having to throw an incomplete pass and kick a field goal and give the ball to Mahomes, where every snap you're in 4-down territory, right? It doesn't matter what yard line you're on, it's 4-down territory because it's either score a touchdown or essentially lose, or you extend the game, I guess, if you kick a field goal, but then it becomes sudden death. But bottom line to me is, he's got to be better decision-making process at the end of games in those critical games, and they have to execute better as a football team. But they're loaded for bear. They're ready to make another run.
Do you think you're looking at a team that's running basically unopposed in the NFC West? So as we move down to the other teams, the Rams, for example, I've been impressed by a Rams team that I think has maybe rebuilt or retooled quicker than maybe some thought they would.
You know what really happened to the Rams? It was really interesting. They had an outstanding, when they were, going to 2 Super Bowls, they had this outstanding group up front. And I always said this about the Rams, and I've had this conversation. Sean McVay has completely agreed with me. I'm like, they're a power run football team disguised as a spread team. And they just used to physically wear people out. And you're not ready because they're doing everything out of 3 wide receiver sets, and then all of a sudden they just cram it down your throat, and you're kind of shocked because it was like my days back when I played for the Redskins, because at that time the Bill Walsh model was, is they don't practice in pads, and we would all just sit around and go, man, they're soft. San Francisco's soft. Like everybody else. I played in the NFC East, man. We used to beat the piss out of one another, right? And so you would look at the San Francisco, they don't practice in pads on Wednesday, and they take their pads off halfway through practice on Thursday. These guys are soft, and then you would play the Niners, and they would whip your ass. You'd be sitting on the bus licking your wounds going, ain't nothing soft about that football team.
Boy, it hit us.
Yeah, they're fresh. They're not soft. And it was one of those situations where you just kind of they would shock you. The Rams shock you. And when they went kind of in the tank, so to speak, they lost the majority, other than Havenstein, they lost their offensive line and some of their offensive identity. And I'll give them a ton of credit. I wrote these names down because they went back into, what do we need to do in regards to fixing, what ails us? And they went out and they drafted offensive linemen. They went out and signed this offseason Jonah Jackson from Detroit, who can really play. Now, he's had some injury issues. Kevin Dotson, former Steeler. They drafted Steven Avila, or whatever his name is, and Alder Jackson. So they've really poured into that group up front, and Havenstein is still there. They've got a good group up front, a really good group up front, and it showed last year in going 10-7 or whatever they went last year. So they've done that. Now, the one thing that you can't replace, you can talk about, hey, we're going to have a great rotation. We're going to do all that. Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's the best football player on the planet. And I don't know how
you've been consistent, by the way. Whenever I try to talk about quarterbacks, you're like, whoa.
Right.
Stop it. The best football player in the league is Aaron Donald, hands down.
Yes. And he's an absolute freak show. And so you can sit here and tell me, well, we've got some guys and we're going to rotate some guys and they did a good job last year. Even the kid Young off the edge was really good. Byron Young, I think his name is. They went in the draft again and picked some guys up. But like you can sit there and say, hey, we're going to have a great rotation and we're going to, it's going to be by committee. But you don't replace Aaron Donald. I'm sorry. Like when you break the huddle, you find out where the hell 99 is, and you have a plan that really is not going to work, but at least you try to convince yourself that the plan's going to work, and that's kind of where they are.
Seattle. If you're a Seattle fan, this is going to be kind of, I don't know. Is there some enthusiasm, optimism, or a sense of dread that, wow, for years it was Pete Carroll.
Right.
And now it's the start of a brand new era.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Like, so you've got Mike McDonald, who was a college coach, then went to the Ravens, and they were the number one defense as far as points are concerned last year. I don't know him. I haven't sat down with him, but my understanding is an analytical guy. Where Pete Carroll's a little bit more on the emotion, right? More the connection that way. Where Mike seems to be more of this analytical guy. At least that's what I've heard. Again, I don't have firsthand experience. I do have firsthand experience with Pete. I did a preseason game of theirs, so I went to their facility last year for a couple of days, and it was phenomenal to watch him operate, to watch him connect with his players, to watch him during practice running and doing all the things he does. It was really cool. But that's a completely different vibe. They went out offensive coordinator Ryan Grubbs, who I don't know him either. He's operated the offense of University of Washington, the last couple of years. And here's what I know about collegiate coordinators coming to the NFL. They struggle. And they struggle because of the hash marks. They struggle because of the running game is different. They struggle because the game in college is more played on the fringes, where in the NFL it's more played in the middle of the football field.
Is that what you mean when you talk about the hash marks? Because I think maybe somebody out there is watching that and you're like, what do you mean hash marks? What difference does that make?
Yeah, well, there's essentially between the two hash marks, the NFLs are much closer. So between the two hash marks, there's 12 feet, which is what, 4 yards of real estate. Think about that. I mean, it's pretty much as wide as this room is. And so when you're on one hash mark, you've got the boundary, which is tighter, and the field, which is much wider. So now you're creating all that extra space for receivers and obviously for the defense to defend. And so those hash marks make a huge difference. So the NFL tends to play more in the middle of the football field, whereas because of the space you have, you tend to play more outside, an outside game. It's just a different game. Like guys I know, like Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury is like, hey man, my 4 best quote unquote skill position players were all receivers. Like that's what we're recruiting. So I had to come into the NFL and learn how to use my tight end, learn how to use the middle of the field, like understand personnel groupings. In college, man, we just lined up with, our wide receivers, and our wide receivers are better than your corners. And it's just not that way in the NFL. So, I mean, I would have to imagine there's going to be a learning curve here for a new offensive coordinator coming out of college. That would just be my, my general takeaway, and not really knowing.
Seattle feel like a playoff team to you?
No.
quite emphatic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a big question. I think there's a big question there. I think they've kind of rebuilt try to retool and rebuild their defense. And, Leonard Williams is a pickup they took last season. They signed him. We're very familiar with Draymond Jones here in Colorado, but I don't think he had the kind of season they expected him to have. They lost both their starting tackles early. It's Charles Cross and, what's the other guy? Abraham Lucas, who both really good, but they lost them early, struggled. Lucas, I think, ended up finishing the season on IR. So there's questions there.
Finally, Arizona. I guess it's as simple as this. Who is Kyler Murray? What do you have in Kyler Murray? Is what you see what you get? Or is there a substantial ceiling above him?
Right. Well, they have tried to invest in, they've tried to invest in the offense, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 4th overall pick. They've invested in their offensive line through the draft and doing some of that stuff. I will tell you that I really like Jonathan Gannon. And Drew Pensing is a West Coast offense guy. Really values the run game, the play action stuff off of that. And then I think it's Nick Rollis is their defense, young guy who is really a sharp defensive guy under Jonathan Gannon. So I like they've got a little continuity on their staff. Assistant head coach, special teams guy, a guy by the name of Jeff Rogers, who's a really good kind of game day coordination, theory, when should we call timeout type of guy. Connor, James Conner is a big time running back. Yep. I really like him a lot. So it's interesting. They have to, continue to upgrade defensively. I think that was a kind of an issue for them last year. But still, when you start thinking about them in general, have they gotten over that hump? And do they have enough defense to create opportunities for that offense that's going to have a younger receiving core that's going to have a quarterback that you're still, they seem to be convinced. And at least, I guess Kyler Murray missed, 8 games last year? Was he come back from that ACL? He wasn't starting initially. They had the astronaut guy starting for a while, and then they moved him out. And
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs. Great dude, by the way.
I know.
Josh is a great dude. Really big on space. He likes space.
Loves space.
He loves
NASA.
Space. I am not a big space guy.
No?
No, I don't really care about
You don't want to go
space.
up in a rocket if you had a chance?
No, I'd rather stay right here.
Stay right here. Terra firma, right?
Yeah, I'm just right there.
Give me your order of finish in the NFC West and who makes the playoffs.
San Fran, Rams, Seattle, Arizona. Pretty much standard.
Mm-hmm.
And San Fran and the Rams make the playoffs.
Okay.
Rams actually played. San Fran's kind of whipped their ass. And I think they split last year, if I remember correctly. And physically, they haven't matched up against San Francisco very well. I think they did much better last year in that regard.
We move over to the AFC West, and I think I asked this question for every single football fan out there who's not a Chiefs fan. There's no way they can win 3 in a row, right? There's no way they can win 3 in a row, right?
From your lips to God's ears. That would be the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they were able to do that, when nobody's been able to do that, nobody. But when you look at the way they're built, first off, Andy Reid's phenomenal. Matt Nagy left for a while, but came back as a coordinator. So there's familiarity there. He's been there. He's been there for the rise of Patrick Mahomes. So there's good rapport there. Steve Spagnuolo has just been phenomenal. And when you think about what kept them afloat, it wasn't Patrick Mahomes in that offense. No. They led the league in drops. I think they had 44 drops. They've got a wide receiving crew that, you just don't know the names. Obviously, Travis Kelce is kind of the go-to guy there, but Spags had the number 2 scoring defense behind Baltimore last year, and he's just done a phenomenal job. Remember several years ago, I remember them starting like their defense as they were starting. Like you look at their defensive backfield, it's all 2, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, 3. There's a 6 and maybe an 8 in there, but they're all young. But a couple of years ago, they were starting all rookies and second-year guys, and those guys have matured. Now they'll miss L'Jarius Sneed, who left, right? So that hurts them to a degree in their back end, but their defense really held that team together while the offense was kind of fumbling around trying to find their way. So, like, they're going to be – when you have the talent that they have and you have the quarterback that they have, I mean, let's face it, when you have Mahomes, you got a chance. You got a chance. So
bet against them at your own peril.
Right.
Bet against them at your own peril. The Chargers, here in Denver and I guess some other places around the NFL, used to always kind of be able to console yourself with the idea that no matter how well the Chargers were playing, at some point, Chargers going to Charger.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that go away now that Jim Harbaugh's in charge?
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
One of the things I love about this Chargers team, so Herbert, in his first 4 years or whatever it is, has set records. Even though he missed last year. Did he have a thumb injury
near the end of the season? Yeah,
missed like 4 games. But Herbert has set records for number of completions and number of yards in the first 4 years of a career, even with missing some time. I mean, the guy has been phenomenal from that standpoint. And I think one of the cool things in a day and age when, man, we get our panties in a bunch over, well, we don't have enough wide receivers, and you got to have a wide receiver, and who's our number 1? Jim Harbaugh said, forget you. Mike Williams, later. Keenan Allen, later. We don't need, you can, pound sand when it comes to receivers. What we're going to do, go get Gus Edwards. We're going to go get, some running backs, both the Baltimore running backs. J.K. Dobbins is there as well. We're going to go with some young guys, and we're going to build an offensive line. We go get Alt and Rashawn Slater, who's a really good player, is back. I think he was hurt last year. So we're going to get some good young offensive linemen. We're going to set the tone. We're going to run the snot out of the ball, set up our play action, and we'll develop wide receiver. They'll become, they're going to get one-on-one opportunities because we are literally going to completely control the line of scrimmage. The best thing they've got going for them, and I'm a believer in this, is they'll have an identity. And they'll know exactly what it is. This is one thing, when I consult with teams, I always tell this to offensive coaches. I was like, when we were in nut cutting time, just crunch time, I would just know, stand in the huddle. There were 3 plays coming in. We got to convert on 3rd down. It's 3rd down and 1, or it's 2nd down and 2. We want to convert and get an extra, set of 4 downs. I knew what we were going to run. We're going to run 18-19 handoff, 14-15 handoff, or QB sneak. And we're going to convert, and we're going to continue to beat your ass.
And that's with the defense knowing also what was coming. They knew.
Sure. But
they knew.
But it's like that 10,000 rule hour, right?
Yeah.
You want to become an expert at something, you got to put 10,000 hours. I've run 18-19 handoff the way I've run it 10,000 times. You've defended it 100 times. Guess what? I'm better than you, and I know it. And that's how we operated. And I tell coaches this all the time. Do you know what kind of comfort level you have when you know that? When I can stand in the huddle and go, I guarantee you what play's coming in. I know what's coming in this situation. There is a comfort in that. There's a comfort in having an identity. And I do believe that that's what Jim Harbaugh will establish. And I believe that's going to be a good thing. And then all of a sudden, all this, well, we never get a receiver and we don't have a true number one. And no wonder our quarterback sucks ass. Yeah, like, really? Okay. Well, we're fixing to find out.
Last year, you talked about the Atlanta Falcons as a team that was a quarterback away from being a really good team.
Right.
That there was a really good roster that just lacked a quarterback. Could you say the same thing this year about the Raiders?
Yeah, I think the Raiders, you look at what they did. I mean, obviously Max Crosby, and I hate to, like, I'll say Aaron Donald is, like, I don't have any problem going best football player, on the planet. Okay, I don't have any problem with that. But what I hate to say is hate to compliment defensive linemen their intelligence level. Like, because defensive linemen are dumb. Like, that's just a standard rule. Max Crosby is a brilliant football player. And I am telling you, he's not only he is a phenomenal effort guy, but it's so much more than effort. His effort is pointed because of his intelligence. He just can dissect formations, dissect stances. Like, he just knows what's coming because of his ability to see the game and then to react to the game.
Is that study or just instinctual?
It has a lot to do with study, but it also has there's some instinct aspect to exactly what his game is. And now you get the Wilkins kid from Miami, Christian Wilkins. I'm a big Patrick Graham fan, who is their defensive coordinator. I think that he makes it simple for his defense, but he makes it complex for an offense. And he comes from that New England kind of system under Bill Belichick, and I think he does a really good job with that. I think they're deep. They've got some things to prove in their secondary, but they're deep there. Yeah, I just kind of like how they're built, and like offensively, man, they're a team with Devontae Adams, and obviously they lost Josh Jacobs, but they like the kid that replaced him. What's that? I wrote that down. His name. I like their offensive line. I think Colton Miller is a player. They've got some guys that they have gone after.
You got Aaron Jones now, right?
They got No.
He went to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Who'd they get? I'm drawing a blank. Come on,
they got the Zamir White kid.
Yes, that's right.
They got Alexander Madison.
Yes.
White took over when Josh Jacobs was hurt and actually played pretty well. Yep. I don't really know him very well, but I will say
I like Madison.
Yeah, Madison's always been he was a really good backup, but when they decided in Minnesota last year to make Alexander Madison their primary, he kind of struggled last year. So coming off the bench, I think he's better. Antonio Pierce was 5-4 as their head coach when he took over for Hurricane Josh, and the players love him. I think he's done a great job. I think he's the embodiment of kind of what a Raiders coach has to be, and then it ultimately is who becomes your quarterback. Does what's the kid's name? Aiden O'Connell?
Yeah.
Or do you go with Gardner Minshew, who I think Gardner is?
You're a big fan of him.
I really like. If Gardner was not so diminutive, but he just is. That dude's ballsy, man.
Yeah.
He's just ballsy. And I think players love playing with him. We'll see, but they feel like they're a quarterback away. The Brock Bowers tight end kid that they drafted out of Georgia that dude's he's a phenomenal football player. So it could be big. Like their receiving core with Devonta Adams and the rest of those guys. They've got Jacoby Myers. I think they've got a chance.
So the Hurricane Josh is a big thing here from Josh McDaniels' time here in Denver.
Yes.
When he wreaked so much havoc.
Yes.
That we nicknamed him Hurricane Josh. now the Broncos have Sean Payton. And to me, we're here in Denver. We do the show every single day here in Denver. To me, there's only one question that really surrounds the Broncos this year, and that is, has Sean Payton found his next Drew Brees?
Yeah.
In Bo Nix.
Like, I think if there's so much that's out there that's like, well, Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback taken, so he can't be good or what. There's just a lot. But the value that Sean had on him was, one, like he's probably the number one quarterback that they worked out as far as is his ability to learn something quickly. So, Sean sends him the playbook at 5:00 at night and says, I want to go over, an insane amount of information, and there's no way you could learn it all. And the guy who handled that better than anybody else was Bo Nix. Now, that being said, I think you probably have to take off Caleb Williams because it was a foregone conclusion. I don't know how much time they spent the evaluation of Caleb Williams because he wasn't going to be available. But the two guys that Sean liked the most were Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. And I've made the argument on this podcast that Bo Nix is in the best position based upon who's coaching him and based upon the fit. And big time in best red zone quarterback, most accurate quarterback, like least sack quarterback, and throw from a dirty pocket. Like all the things that Sean really wanted that reminded him of Drew Brees, he found in Bo Nix. So I think there's a great fit there. Now we're going to see if Bo can play or not. But all the things that offense wasn't last year, for all the people who were like, well, Russell Wilson, he never adjusted his offense. Or let me just tell you that I bumped into Drew Brees at the Super Bowl and point blank told me I didn't recognize the offense that they were running, which tells you what? It was completely adjusted based upon what they thought Russell could do and what they knew he couldn't do.
So the idea that Sean, set Russ up for failure,
is ludicrous. It's it's stupid. They completely adjusted that offense to try to make it fit, and obviously, I mean, Russ had some success. He threw 28 TDs versus whatever he did interception wise, which was a low number, like 8 or something like that. But bottom line is, I think that Sean Payton feels like he found his guy that can operate his offense at an efficient level. They obviously want to run the ball better, but that's his feel right there. Now, there are a lot of questions on the defensive side of the ball, and I think they were the 29th ranked defense last year, and D-line was a big question mark. My big question mark for them is, hey, listen, man, I don't know if it's Baron Browning, or I don't know if it's Jonathan Cooper or Nick Benito.
Yep.
But who's which one of those guys blows sunshine up your ass in regards to rushing the passer? And the answer is none of them. And so, are you going to have a true edge presence? And there's some question marks. I think they've revamped their defensive line. DJ Jones hopefully is healthy. The kid they got from the Jets, Franklin Myers,
John Franklin Myers,
Jingleheimer Schmidt. Yes, that guy. They got him. He's a good player. You ever notice that I don't really know the names of players?
But you
study a lot of film.
You study a lot,
but I do it like a coach does it. You ever talk to a coach about a guy? Like they'll just throw a number. They'll throw the number of the guy out. Like they don't really know the dude's name. That's kind of how I am. I'm like, oh yeah, you mean number 90?
But when you butcher a name, it's done in a way that's almost kind of like cute. It doesn't come across as insulting. There's almost like a Madden-esque quality to you that is almost childlike in your innocence.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's like, oh, there goes Mark again, butchering the name.
Right,
oh,
yeah. He's not even close. He's not even close. Yeah, I know.
Appreciate the effort.
Most of the time, I just know the body type. You tell me the body type, I'll tell you. Oh that's. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, Their secondary is going to change over as well. No more Justin Simmons and some of the, some of the. So they've made some changes in that regard to kind of get younger and hopefully a little bit more aggressive because that's what they're looking for.
All right, so give me the order of finish in the AFC West and who goes to the playoffs.
Broncos number 1. I'm going to go KC 1. I'm going to go Chargers 2. Although Chargers last year were what? 5-12 and 1-5 in the division. Who'd they beat in the division? Did the Broncos?
They beat the Broncos once.
Did they?
Yeah.
Damn it. So Chargers 2. Gosh, this hurts. This is like eating a turd sandwich.
I know. Say it.
Raiders
Say
3. I mean, we got to haven't beat the Raiders in 8 tries. So Raiders 3 and Broncos 4.
Who goes to the playoffs?
I'm going to say
Just
Kansas City.
Just Kansas City. Chargers aren't ready yet. They'll flirt with it, but not.
Yeah, I think they'll flirt,
Okay.
but I don't think they're gonna. I think just Kansas City.
Okay.
Gosh, like Kansas City, will they be a 1 or 2 seed?
They can't win 3 in a row. Right? Everybody,
No,
they can't win 3 in a row.
I mean, you see where there was a report last year where, like Patrick Mahomes, they're like 9-7 or something, and he texted his wife like coming back from a road trip or something. I don't know the whole story. I'm just paraphrasing, but he just basically said, "I've decided that we're going to win the Super Bowl."
Oh, great.
Like, and I hate him. Actually, I mean, it's sports hate.
yeah.
I love watching the guy play. I love.
You hate him, but you got to. In the next breath, you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's like a scene from The Anchorman. I hate you if I just didn't respect you so much, or whatever it was, where Vince Vaughn was.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. For everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, hey man, happy 4th of July. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Be safe out there. Thank you so much for making us a part of your holiday weekend, and we'll be back with you next week. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth, we thank you so much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. If you want to see more of our videos, you can also be sure to check out our playlist. Let us know exactly what you think in the comments below. We appreciate you guys so much for being a part of that.
Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.